An ant, the size of a housecat, with a throbbing green abdomen gnaws everything in sight. Hissing liquid drips from its chittering mandibles. The acid ant. Let's talk about it. Quick announcement before the video starts. The first 20 subscribers to join the Discord server will be getting the founding member role. So go ahead, link in the description, join the Discord server. Love to see you there. Now back to the video. Ants can be a nuisance just in our everyday lives. But imagine growing them to the size of a common house cat, then filling them up with arcane infused acid. Well, that is the acid ant. In some mythologies, ants play a very important role. The Cahuilla creation myth says it was ants who spread the earth for people and animals to live upon. And in Hopi mythology, it was ant people who sheltered them underground during the First World's destruction. In the Iliad, the Myrmidons, commanded by Achilles, were known as the ant people in traditional etymology, with references to a princess of Phthiotis being seduced by him in the form of an ant, and Roman poets referring to the Myrmekes, also telling that the Myrmidons were simple worker ants of the island of Aegina. The Myrmekes have even appeared in mainstream entertainment, such as the Percy Jackson series. Ants go way back to the beginning of this planet, and scientists estimate that there are 1 quadrillion ants on Earth. A single acid ant, just like a single Myrmidon, is not really a threat for your average adventuring party. But like army ants, these acid ants travel in nomadic colonies. The Creature Codex specifically describes them to be colonial insects, which travel in acid-spewing hordes that can lay waste to an entire village in a matter of hours. Reading that statement from a player's perspective makes me terrified, but conversely, reading it from a dungeon master's perspective, I am flooded with ideas and imagery of acid ant colonies possibly taking over entire cities. In the real world, there are actually several ants that do something quite similar to what the acid ant of Dungeons and Dragons does. This being the army ant. The army ant ravages its way through the world, killing anything in its path. But the similarities don't end there. While slicing up their prey, the army ants leave acidic residue and let it dissolve into a liquid state, then consume it. Yellow crazy ants also deal with acid by spraying it at their enemies, and in some high-density areas, the yellow crazy ants are seen as a major invasive species, destroying the local wildlife populations, such as the case on Christmas Island. On the island, the ants spray formic acid into the eyes of crabs when they get too close to the ants' territory. This is terrible for the local crab population and has caused massive ecological damage. I can see the acid ant working in a similar way. Maybe your adventuring party comes across a village ravaged by acid ants, or faces off against an entire army of them which were weaponized by a warring kingdom. Like army ants, the acid ants are described as having an endless appetite. Apparently, the arcane energy inside the ant keeps them in a constant state of gluttony. This works well for them since their acidic bite allows the ants to liquefy and devour almost any matter. Though the Creature Codex describes the acid ant as preferring the taste of meat. Instinctually, the insect stays in an area till all organic food sources are consumed, then moves on, hunting for more food, and leaving a deadly acidic trail in its wake. So next time, Dungeon Masters, when you're wondering what monstrous horde to use next, just think of the acid ant. Think of its bubbly green acid melting on your players and seeping droplets littering themselves slowly on their flesh. But it isn't just Dungeon Masters who use this volatile horde against their enemies. Many militaries in the world of Dungeons and Dragons have been known to capture and contain these acid ant hordes, then unleash them onto their enemies. The process is quite daring, and many accounts depict armies losing their own soldiers to the process. First, and probably the hardest part, is that the ants must be captured. Then they are put into acid-proof housing containers, and finally they must be released in a way that ensures the destruction of only the enemy army. It is said the militaries who master this strategy master the art of destruction. As somebody who loves putting large bugs into their D&D games, I will most definitely be using this strategy in the near future. Acid ants aren't just subject to their own kind. In fact, acid ants have been found in giant ant colonies, and despite their chaotic behavior, still answer to the queen as a specialized warrior caste. The origins of the acid ant is mostly unknown and up to speculation. Some think it was a wizard experiment gone wrong, others an elemental summoning, but I think it was a long-lost ancient civilization trying to breed or genetically modify a new species of ant to use against their enemies, mixing the DNA of a giant ant, yellow crazy ant, and army ant. And in trying to contain it with arcane means, they failed, leaving a permanent arcane mixture within the creature. This would account for all the traits we are about to discuss. Nevertheless, scholars and brave warriors hunt for the origins to better understand and annihilate the creatures. As for abilities, the acid ant is still a formidable opponent for lower levels, coming out at a challenge rating of 1/4. It is justly classified as a small monstrosity, completely unaligned and with an immunity to acid. The ant does not speak any known languages and has a blind sight radius of 60 feet. Like most ants, the acid ant has a keen sense of smell, giving it advantage on perception checks. Upon death, the acid ant explodes, leaving every creature within a 5-foot radius to make a dexterity saving throw. Like the notorious yellow crazy ant, the acid ant has an acid spit that it can shoot from 20 to 60 feet. And like the army ant, it has an acidic bite that it uses against its prey to dissolve their matter into a tasty liquid goo. In some cases, Pertuta fungi spores attracted to the acid ant's chitinous shells attach themselves to the acid ant. In this case, the acid ant becomes a variant known as the fungal acid ant. If the green, mossy fungus completely covers the chitinous shell, then the acid ant becomes immune to poison, and the explosive death trait is replaced with the fungi bloom trait, which results in a constitution saving throw against being poisoned. I actually used the fungal acid ant variant earlier this week, and boy, were they annoying for my level 3 party. My party was in a cavern overlooking the edges of an abyss, and fungal acid ants just kept coming and crawling out of the abyss below. After discovering the fungi bloom explosion that happens after death, my party just resorted to kicking them off instead. They must have kicked at least 10, if not more. Anyways, that is the acid ant. I don't know why, but I'm absolutely adore large bugs in Dungeons and Dragons, and I am constantly putting them into my games. There are almost 1 million bug species discovered by scientists, and I would happily pay for a monster manual covering the coolest and most intriguing of them all. Man, that was fun. I hope you had as much fun as I did making that video. If you'd like to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to get more involved in this wonderful community, then I encourage you to leave a comment and join the Discord server. Anyways, my warriors, I will see you in the morrow when the sun rises upon the crested hill and the winds bring the scent of glory to our hearts.